we will go to Dr. Sikka and then we'll come to you. Yes, please.
Yes, I am Alok Sikka, Deputy Director General, Indian Council of Agriculture Research. I think the first thing, the point which Dr. Mahendra Dev made about the India Meteorological Department and Indian Council of Agriculture Research. Yes, we both have been having our different portals and agromet services. And we are, even what IMD is giving, it is also, they are getting the advice from the National Agriculture Research System. Of course, we are giving more frequently, but to tell you the very recent development, that we have already finalized an MOU with IMD, between IMD and ICR for e-Krishi Mausam. So I just signed the MOU and now that's going to, so that the message which goes from different organizations should be same. So that's one thing.
If I can interrupt, I have a question here. You know, all the countries, you all spoke about the different mechanism and infrastructure we have on forecasting, on finding out the weather, on finding out the vulnerability and so forth. How much access do the farmers or how much access do the communities have to this kind of system, and how much can it benefit the community, and how well are we able to disseminate these things?
Yeah, no, what I'm telling, this is basically even for the local community, and community is using, even now SMS-based services are also being given. So it's both for the line departments in the, and also as well as for the farmers. So that was any one thing. The basic thing which I would like to make a mention over here, we are all talking about the resilience, and more often than not, we all look at sectoral approach, one particular component or a process. What we have been demonstrating for the past 3 years is a systems-based approach. As we are talking about, we have to build the systems resilience, not the individual component resilience. And as Purvi is aware of it, and maybe some other people, that in India we have got 8 national missions on climate change, which is headed by the Prime Minister. I'm not going to, those are all developmental oriented missions, be it water, be it agriculture and energy and Himalayan ecosystem. We have launched 3 years back one flagship program of national initiative on climate resilient agriculture. Popularly it is called NICRA. Besides the research and capacity building component, what we have demonstrated as a systems approach, we have 130 NICRA villages. 100 of them are through KVKs, Krishi Vigyan Kendra, that is farm science centers, in the vulnerable districts. We have already brought out an atlas of vulnerability to climate change for the entire country, and district-wise mapping has already been done. We are also now looking at taking it down to the block levels. So what a limited point I wanted to make was there, that what we are demonstrating there is a systems approach, be it natural resources, rainwater, soil management, different production systems, commensurating with that, be it livestock, fish, or crop improvement program or horticulture, and on top of all these things, institutional intervention. Because what happens in this kind of a calamities and disasters, the window to operate for agriculture is very, very short, and so need to get into more of mechanization. So what we are trying to develop is a more of a custom hiring centers, and those kind of a policy interventions are there, which I'm very happy to that most of the, so what I would like to stress upon is that besides the technological interventions in a systems mode, it is the policy interventions and the institutional interventions which as a researcher we also have to be looking into. So that is the limited point based on our this thing. And finally, I think we need is more of regional dialogues, because these issues of natural disasters, be it flood or anything, especially the flood, they are all transboundary issues. If something rains heavily in Nepal, the Bihar gets flooded. That's what happened in 2008 Kosi flood. Of course, we have been talking about the high dams. Anyway, I'm not going to discuss all those things right now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Sikka. I had seen, yeah, please. We'll take two more questions and then I'll ask the panelists to respond to those. Yes, please.
Thank you, Chair. My first question is about the shocks that come from, from the 2008 global shocks. Is to ask what really did we learn from these shocks that in terms of what the countries specifically do with these shocks that happen in the South Asia region. I am the head of the agricultural food security work for the UNECA here. So we want to learn a lot from South Asia because South Asia share a lot from with what happening in Africa, especially in South-South cooperation, South-South learning. So to learn what you learn from these shocks. This is one area. The other area is, second question, is specifically what has worked, especially on the connectivity side. What has worked in the region that now has given opportunity to, for farmers to take advantage of technology that we can also use to share with the region? Because in the Africa region, we are also looking at what is happening in South Asia, because our context is very, very much to learn from this region. Thank you.
We take one more and then I ask the panel. One more. Okay. We start with you. Dr. Adhikari, if you wanted any additional point on key recommendation from Nepal, yes. Because I think earlier we missed that.
Thank you. Thank you. So
yeah, bonus.
So I'll begin with the key recommendations.
Being at the head reaches.
I'm not talking here the new concept because we have tried everything in that part of the world. So what I'm saying here is the new way of doing the same things that we tried. For example, my key recommendations are on three ways, three pillars of it, what I would like to say. One is community development in the productive, what I said, productive community development. There has been effort of the community development that has not all gone in the productive way. So productive community development, one. That community development led by youth. That's number one point that I would like to, because as the point was highlighted here as well, our youths are migrating to other sectors as well. And what lessons we have learned, they came from different countries, for example, working in Israel, and they tried here, and they now have been the role model for the whole community. So that sort of things is being, and that institutional development at every stage. We have very good institutions at the government level, not the community level. So this mismatch between the different levels of institution development has also been the factor for us not to achieve the desired objective. So institutional development to match that community development, that's at various levels. Number one, P from my recommendations. The second P is partnerships. We have talked a lot about this partnership, public-private partnership and all those things. Actually, I always wonder who is being represented by, who represents farmers in these public-private partnerships? Who represents media in these public-private partnerships? You know, this is the very vague terms about public-private partnership. When we talk about public, it's the governments, it's the bureaucrats, it's the councils of ministers at one side of the public, and the private, it's all the business houses. So in these public-private partnership connotations, we are leaving out other major stakeholders of it. For example, the excellent example I would like to give you about the media partnerships. Media has a huge role in making this resilience, in changing the behavior and attitude of the peoples, in giving them the right information at the right time. And we are just taking as granted that it is their responsibility and they will do it. No, we need to forge a clear partnerships with their competence, and in that we have other stakeholders. I just wanted to highlight one particular example here. So this partnership is the second one with direct relationship. If we try to partnership with multiple agents at a time, probably we lost things there. So direct partnerships along with the core competency here is important. My second recommendation. And the third recommendation is on policy, and policy that I would like to bring one excellent example of our community development efforts, which has not been translated to other sectors. That is the community forestry. We have our we have a very good example of community our forestry being managed by the community. It is the same community. They have excellently managed the watershed as well, but that the same community has unable to manage the food and nutrition system in the country. So why this is happening? And clearly this is linked with the incentive the policy gives. There is no incentive for this community to actually be involved in the food and nutrition systems, and as a policy makers we have unable to find it. Had I got that solutions with me, probably this issue might not have been raised here, but I don't have the solution. So we have to find a way to incentivize this community to actually involve into food and nutrition security and related interventions. That's my third, and I already mentioned about the policy integrations in this region because this has huge impacts. This is my recommendations about how we can approach this building resilience. And once we build the resilience through the community development, it doesn't matter what type of shock it is. It can be health shock, it can be political shocks. We have seen the political shocks. It can be weather shocks, but they develop this capability. And before I come here, I actually met with some farmers cooperatives as well and farmers representatives, and I asked them, what will you actually develop your resilience? And they said 3 points. Number one, expanding their asset base. Expanding their asset base, number one. Number two, enhancing their productive capability. And number three, finding alternate livelihood alternatives. So to get those three things realized, we need these policy, partnerships, and productive institution development there. The root causes, behind the ice, below the iceberg, there are three the cardinal sins I would like to say here. Number one is corruption. Second one is, the interventions not reaching to the people. And third one is actually we are not very much focused, and the resources are being diluted, and there are lots of duplications in all endeavors here. The government is doing the same, development partner is going so, international NGO is going so, and these all things going to the same community who has already been capacitated, not reaching to the real people who need this. So these things must be addressed before that. That's my recommendations. If you allow me, then I'll respond to one particular questions that was directly.
Yeah, we will let other panelists
Yes.
do that, and then because we have
Yes,
5 minutes now.
Thank
so.